Hello, and thank you again for joining me. Today, we are going to delve into day 5 of the Diddy trial. So let's get into it. Okay, so hello, and thank you so much for joining me today on the Community Ledger. Again, my name is Andrea Banu. And if you have not already, I know you've been watching, but you haven't pressed that subscribe button. So go ahead and hit subscribe so I can get some of that love, as well as hit that notification so you can be updated anytime I load new content. So today was day 5 of the Diddy trial. I didn't post yesterday because I'm gonna be honest with you. Yesterday, day 4, was the first day of cross examination from the defense. I was watching. So, as you know, like I told you before, I watch all day and then I'll come back and do a video and give you my impression, my interpretation, my thoughts on how the day went. Yesterday was a snooze fest in my assessment. Okay. So, yesterday was the first day they did cross examination. And so even though Diddy got upset, he got frustrated with his lawyer. So that was really the only thing that was kind of to me newsworthy. But outside of that, the defense was very underwhelming. As I watched, I was like, what's going on here? Because I know this man has paid millions of dollars for these lawyers and they ain't doing him no justice. I was looking like, I really expected them to go in and seriously poke holes in her testimony from the last 2 days and really just give her that work. But it was very, 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 very low key. I mean, nothing that they asked her, she didn't already establish by the prosecution. They didn't. I mean, it wasn't anything. It was like, what? Like, is this a setup? Because this is looking real crazy, right? And so, later in the day, I'm assuming Diddy felt the same way because later on in the day, Diddy got really frustrated with his defense. He decided to kind of like take over and write the questions out and give it to the defense to ask Cassie. But the stuff was just like, it had no relevance whatsoever with regards to the case at hand. It was like, asking about old relationships and things of that nature, or if she was cheating on Diddy at certain instances. But again, really didn't have any real context or context to the trafficking or even RICO or anything like that. So I just felt like the defense just was scrambling yesterday. They seemed very discombobulated. They seemed unprepared, and they did not ask her anything that was poignant or that made her not look credible. So it was very interesting. It was very interesting for a defense. I just, like I said, I'm not understanding why you got this, grade A defense team and they're not going harder than they are. But maybe, his actions are just indefensible, as they say. But nonetheless, today was a lot more juicy. Okay. Today, they followed up with Cassie. They did ask her a lot better questions. So I felt like they slept. They kind of got things a little bit more under control, and today was a lot more seamless. So Cassie did, she did the cross examination. Prosecution asked her a few questions just to kind of solidify what they had already set down or put down, and then she left. They also interviewed. They had two more witnesses. They had. A special agent from Homeland Security, and then they did Don Richards from Danity Kane, but it was just a little snippet. The defense is not really happy with her, and they've had some concerns about her being a witness, but we're going to get into it, okay? So what we're going to do is go ahead and get these transcripts up so that if you don't feel like going online and reading all through it, I can do it for you. We can do this together. Okay, let me go ahead and pull this up. Okay, here we are. Perfect, perfect, perfect. I made it big so you can read along if necessary. Okay, so this is today's date. So let's see here. Um, Okay, so now the judge is just going over the timeline of cross examination because, as you know, the judge has been very irritated with the defense because they have not been sticking to the timeline because Cassie has to get off of that stand because she is real pregnant. Okay, and so she could give birth at any day now. And so, crazy sidebar, like it's crazy because I understand. I actually, when I was pregnant with my son, I got called for jury duty, and I was like, okay, they're gonna see that I'm like 8 months pregnant. They ain't gonna call me. They called me, and I was like, oh my god, they called me. I was 8 months pregnant. I had to do the whole damn case. The case lasted for damn near 8 weeks, and I was like, listen, if they don't hurry and get this thing over with, I'm gonna have to recuse myself because I could. And like, probably what, 2 weeks after that, I gave birth. So I understand. You got to get her off that stand because time is of essence. But nonetheless, getting back into this, let me see. Okay, so now we're talking about the timeline in regards to making sure she gets off the stand in a reasonable hour or a reasonable manner. And now we are going back into it. So now keep in mind, Estavo is going to be Combs's defense, and they're questioning Cassie. Let me see. We don't understand why we're talking taking time objecting to exhibits. Okay, so let me go back over. Okay, so they're going back and forth. Apparently, there was kind of like an exhibit where Diddy wanted to show that he went to rehab. So apparently, we've already established that Diddy has a serious drug problem. Okay, so Diddy has a serious substance abuse problem and has almost OD'd and had to go to rehab. Both of them have serious substance abuse problems, him and Cassie. So that's already been established. Diddy apparently went to rehab and he had a video about how he was like all in nature and talking about God and all this other stuff. And so they decided they're not even going to put that into the case or show the witnesses because they just felt like it was crazy, which if the truth be told, it is. I wouldn't even, yeah. Anyways, and so they're going back and forth about that. Our jury is ready. Okay, jury is ready. Let's get into it. Again, this is going to be Estavo. Is that his name? Estavo. I'm just going to call him Estavo. Okay. And this is Diddy's defense. Okay. Again, they're cross-examining Cassie. Let's get into it. So, Estavo, if the rape is after, ooh, I forgot I'm on YouTube. Let me censor myself. Okay. If the grape is after the chain charged conduct, it shouldn't have come in. It's a huge issue for us. It's not a huge issue. You didn't raise it at the time. Okay, so the judge is obviously they going back about Judge All Rise. Okay, here we are. Judge All Rise. Good morning. You are still under oath, Miss Ventura. And now here comes Diddy's defense. You believe Mr. Combs was blacked out at the Intercontinental event. Ventura, I believe he was intoxicated. Everyone's definition is different. Everyone's definition is different. Uh, Estavo, but you said blacked out. Estavo, what did you write here? Again, Cassie, I wrote, when you get effed up the wrong way, and Estavo, you meant drugs, Cassie, and alcohol. Estavo, here, Mr. Combs writes to you, I am so horny for you. Prosecution, this is not in evidence. Combs's defense, Estavo. Here, Mr. Combs is asking you for sex soon after the Intercontinental, right? Cassie. I was saying who he felt. I don't even get what the I guess she was asking how he felt. Okay. And so again, this is going to be the court reporter, so things come in a little skewed sometimes. Estafo, what did you write back? Ventura, I wrote, we need a different vibe than Friday at the Intercontinental. Estavo, Mr. Combs wrote, F Friday. I don't even want to do that again. What did you write? I wrote, LOL, true. And that was Cassie. Estavo, Mr. Combs suspected you were having an affair with him, someone else in the industry. What happened when he took your phone? Ventura, Cassie. We were in a car and he told me to call my mother. When I did, he grabbed my phone and took it. Estavo, it was a big fight. Ventura, he was just gone. Estavo, for how long? Cassie, a few hours until my mother called the police. So Diddy told her to call her mama, snatched her phone, took off. Her mama called the police. Estavo, did Mr. Combs go through your phone? Cassie, I think so. And he called someone on it. Estavo, the person you had an affair with, an NFL player. Cassie, I don't know if he's playing anymore. Estavo, but he was an NFL player and he was jealous. Estavo, wasn't there a time he found out you were dancing with another person in the industry, in the entertainment industry, and took your phone, right? Estavo, wasn't there a time he found out you were dancing with another person in the entertainment industry and took your phone, right? Ventura, I don't remember. Estavo, it was Chris Brown. Cassie, I was not dancing with him. Estavo. Look at this. It's from 2013. Cassie. Now I see. Estavo. What else did Mr. Combs take? Cassie. My car, my passport, when he was angry. Estavo. Let's refresh you about Mr. Combs being in rehab. Cassie. I vaguely remember. Estavo. Why did you go to Sedona? Cassie. I went to Arizona to get away from the substances. Estavo, I'm going to go to a new topic. Mr. Combs told you to go get the video you'd heard about. What did you write? Cassie, I wrote, you keep putting me down. Estavo, I'm going to play you some audio. And so in the audio, Cassie is saying, if you saw a video of someone effing me, who was effing me? You have it. Why didn't you show me? Because I'm not disrespectful, bro. Cassie, if you don't show me, oh my God. Okay. If you don't show me, I will kill you, cut you up. Still the audio is playing for the jury. Cassie again is yelling on this audio. I will effing kill you. I've never killed anyone in my life. I am going to F you up. It's not going to be blood on my hands. Someone else is going to do it. I'm not playing with you. Sujit, tell me. So apparently she's talking to this guy who she saw at a club who told her he had video of her. So I'm assuming she left this recording on his voicemail saying that she was going to kill him because he had this audio or this video of these freak offs. So back to Diddy's defense, Estavo. That was you, right? Cassie, yes. Estavo, did Mr. Combs express concern about these videos being released? Cassie, when? Estavo, ever? Cassie, yes. Estavo, the escort Jonathan, you thought he took a video? Cassie, yes. Now you remember Jonathan Odie is who we're talking about. So Jonathan Odie is the one. Remember, many years ago, I don't know how many years ago, he shot up like Mar-a-Lago and went crazy, and then he was in the like the being interrogated by the police, and he was like, "I'm a ex-slave for Diddy and Cassie," and people was like, "This dude is off his meds. He is losing his mind." Well, turns out he was right on point and was telling nothing but the truth, the whole truth. So help me God. So this is the Jonathan Odie that she's talking about. Okay, and so back here again, it is the defense. Mr. Combs spent a lot of money to make sure the video did not get released. Cassie, I don't know. Estavo, I had a conversation with Jonathan Odie that was transcribed. Cassie, I'm not sure. Estavo, he was volatile. Cassie, I didn't trust him. Um, Estavo, what did Mr. Combs say when you told him you thought Mr. Odie was recording? Cassie, he said he'd take care of it. Estavo, are you aware of an escort leaving comments on Mr. Combs' Instagram page? Cassie, I am not. Estavo, now let's talk about rehab. Do you still, um, are you still taking how do you pronounce this? Suboxone? Cassie, something like it. Estavo, what does it treat? Cassie, opioid addiction. Here comes the prosecution. Objection, overruled. Okay. Defense, Estavo, you wrote a book in rehab. The place treats you wrote a book in rehab. The place treats sexual compulsion. Prosecution, objection, judge, sidebar. So they go talk, whispering. Okay, they come back. They're back. Combs' defense, Estavo. Did you get neurofeedback therapy, Ventura or Cassie? Yes. Estavo, what is that? Cassie, they hook something up to your head and show you things. See how you react. Estavo, were you told the effects of it? Cassie, supposed to help me with trauma. Estavo, did you participate in EMDR? Cassie, yes. Estavo, what does it do? Cassie, memories and processing them. Estavo, the idea is you recall prior traumatic memories like for PST, like for PTSD. You were being treated for PTSD? Cassie, yes. Cassie, I was still physically developing. Estavo, you were 22. Cassie, women keep developing after 22, don't you think? Um, Estavo, but you're not suggesting you were still physically developing after 22. Cassie, I am not. Okay. Estavo, this message is about having a freak off without ketamine, right? Prosecution, may I confer with counsel? Judge, no, but we'll take a break. Jury leaves. So they took another break. Okay. Okay, so they took a break, real break. They're back. Okay. Estavo, again, defense. Mr. Combs wrote, you're so predictable. You've said you were going to tell him you didn't want to do freakouts anymore, but you didn't say it, did you? Cassie, I did not. Estavo, here you were suggesting freak offs with a girl. Estavo, you say you found a photo of Mr. Combs with Gina while you were staying with your parents in Connecticut, right? Cassie, yes. Estavo, you decided to break up with him, and he didn't threaten you, but suggested couples counseling. Cassie, I don't know. Estavo, in August of 2018, you called it a closure conversation. Mr. Combs was inviting you to Burning Man, right? Cassie, yes. Estavo, I'll read Mr. Combs. You have anger, Cassie. I wrote my family knows. I am not running around telling our business. Cassie, I wrote, I don't need you to be taking time. I don't need you to be taking care of Kim and Gina. I need you to put me first. Estavo, please read these. Cassie, I wrote, you lied to me. She never went away. It was the nail in the coffin. Estavo, you meant Gina, the photo. Cassie, yes. So again, Cassie's telling Diddy that she don't want him to be spending time with Kim and Gina, that she wants all of his attention, well, his undivided attention. She wants to be put first. Apparently, allegedly, Diddy told her he was breaking everything off with Gina. And so Cassie's upset about it. For those who may be watching and who don't know who Gina is another chick that Diddy was dating, and she did an interview a few years back with Tasha K. And in that video, she talked about how Diddy was violent toward her. She did not mention any freak offs, but she did say that he was violent, drug her by her hair, stomped her face, yada, yada, yada. So this is the Gina that they're talking about. Also, Gina had a very public back and forth with Young Miami because apparently they were both, I guess, seeing him, and Young Miami would constantly go on social media dragging Gina. So this is the Gina that they're referencing. So Gina's been around since Cassie. So she's been around dealing with Diddy for quite some time. Okay, so back to the testimony. Estavo, in your civil lawsuit, you say Mr. Combs raped you in September. Estavo, in your civil lawsuit, you say Mr. Combs raped you in September of 2018 after you had dinner at an Italian restaurant in Malibu, right? Cassie, yes. Estavo, did you meet with the U.S. on November, I'm assuming U.S. attorneys, on November 30th, 2023? Cassie, yes, but not that exact date. Okay. Estavo, in this meeting, you said the grape took place after Mr. Combs returned from Burning Man. You said he was acting strangely at that dinner. Cassie, I don't remember exactly that word. Estavo, did you meet the U.S. on April 8th, 2025? Cassie, around then. Estavo, this message to FB, who's that? Cassie, Frank Black, a name he used. Estavo, he wrote, I'm in an investors conference. We'll get back to this. You still have love for him. So Diddy is asking or stating, I'm in an investors conference. We'll get back to this. You still have love for him? Cassie, I have love for the past and what it was. Okay, so blah, blah, blah. Okay, let me read this right. It'll say, so Diddy wrote, I'm an investors conference. We'll get back to this. And then the defense says, you still have love for him. And Cassie answers, I have love for the past and what it was. Okay. And another sidebar. Okay. And so then they're back. Estafo, you wrote, I didn't mean to be a B. I just don't get the time. He writes, just you need you to be positive. Correct? Cassie, yes. Estavo, uh, DX 1309. This is about a yoga instructor. Cassie, yep. Estavo, what did you write? Cassie, I wrote I've stopped even caring. Estavo, but you did care. Cassie, yeah. Estavo, so he said you could date other people. Let's just talk about it, correct? Cassie, yes. Estavo, what did you write? Cassie, I wrote, I do love you. I would just prefer not being one of your girlfriends. Let's get up tomorrow night. I'll do studio from 6 to 9. Estavo, he writes, can I hold you? Or are you just going to break up with me? Estavo, and you write back, we can embrace, LOL. And you wanted to hug him, right? Cassie, that's what I said. Estavo, did you have intercourse? Did you have intercourse with Combs that night? Cassie, I did. Estavo, and during that, your now husband FaceTimed you. Cassie, yes. Estavo, your now husband didn't know you were with Mr. Combs at that time. Cassie, I don't know what he knew. Estavo, later he discovered it. Prosecution, objection, judge overruled. Estavo, you don't know, oh, so you didn't tell your husband you were raped? Cassie, not that evening. Yikes. Estavo, after Mrs. Porter's memorial service, you wrote to him that you were going home. Why had he called Kim his soulmate? What was the 11 years about? Cassie. Ah, so this is what Cassie wrote. So after the memorial service, she wrote to Diddy saying she's going home. And why did he call Kim his soulmate? What was the 11 years about? Cassie said, yes. Estafel, that was hurtful. Cassie, at the time, yes. Um, wow. Wow. Okay. So Estavo, and after that memorial service, you never saw Mr. Combs again, right? Cassie, I did not. Estavo, he let you go, right? Cassie, I never saw him again. I don't know about letting me go. Estavo, you got married to the love of your life, right? They took a break. They're back. Okay, let's get this done before the jury returns. Blah, 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 blah. Phrase, I'd like to reconnect. Okay, what state of mind were you being? Okay, so now this is cross examination. So now, or redirect, we'll say, prosecution now has Cat is in control again, and they're asking Cassie. We still have issues with phrases like "I'd like to reconnect." Okay, so here's prosecution. What state of mind is this being offered for? Oh, blah. That's not even talking to Cassie. This is them going back and forth to the judge. Come on, get to the meat of it. Okay, jury's back. Boom. Okay, judge entering. Come. Okay, here we go. Okay, Estavo. Miss Ventura, we're almost done here. Cassie, thank you. Estavo, I will read Mr. Combs' messages. You're going to make a beautiful mother. God bless. Cassie, I said thank you. God bless. Cassie, I wrote, we should talk and have closure. Estavo. Mr. Combs sent back a tear face emoji. He said, you were always my ride or die. Cassie, I thought it was nice. Estavo, you'd been craving that. Cassie, before, I don't think I was craving it now. I don't think I was craving now. Estavo, you shaped, he shaped you over 11 years. Silence. Estavo, you shaped each other. Cassie, yes. Estavo, your husband's a physical trainer. Cassie, yes. Estavo, the house you grew up in Connecticut was relatively modest compared to mansions. Cassie, yes. Estavo, you were preparing to tour with a Matt Testa. Cassie, yes, he's an engineer. Estavo, once you settled your lawsuit, you canceled the tour, right? Cassie, yes. Estavo, because you no longer needed the money? Cassie, that wasn't the reason. Estavo, after the hotel video came out, you posted on Instagram that domestic violence is the issue, right? Cassie, yes, I still feel that way. Um, Estavo, Mr. Combs wrote, "Want to freak off one last time?" What did you write? Cassie, I don't want it to be the last time. I want freak off for the first time. Estavo, no further questions. Judge, redirect. Now that part was very interesting to me. I'm taking a break. Let me just go ahead and stop sharing for a second. That was very, very interesting to me. Now, I don't know what the timeline was that, but Diddy asked to do a freak off with her for one last time. And her reply was, I don't want to do a last freak off. I want the first time for the rest of our lives. And so for me, my interpretation is that sounded like it was almost like, listen, either I'm going to be with you long term or I'm not. So if I'm not going to be with you and you're going to not going to make me a priority, I'm not going to be doing these freak offs with you. So that's it. So she was almost, to me, it just seems like she was insinuating like, I want to do a freak off for the first time for the rest of our lives. Like, you marry me, you make me number one, you make this solid, then we can do freak offs to the end of time, which is wild. But that's my interpretation, which could totally be wrong. What do you think? So let's go ahead and get back to it and pull it back up. Okay, so let's go ahead and so she says, I don't want it to be the last time. I want freak off for the first time. No further questions. Okay, so now the prosecution comes in and they're doing redirect. Miss Ventura, you were shown this message where you ended, I don't want to freak off for the last time. I want it to be the first time for the rest of our lives. What did you say after that? Cassie, yes, I'm horny. Just got over a UTI. Eek. Um, Prosecution, you were shown messages today in which you and Sean were kind and loving. Cassie, yes. Prosecution, did those periods ever last? Estavo, objection, overruled. Cassie, no, they didn't last. They have a downswing. Prosecution, what world did Sean open you up to? Cassie, a world of chaos. Prosecution, in your 11-year relationship, who did you want to have relation or inter ugh. In your 11-year relationship, who did you want to have X with? Cassie, only him at that time. Prosecution, when Sean wrote seduce me all day, what did you do? Cassie, write about FOs. Prosecution, um, were you able to cancel work obligations for freak offs? Cassie, yes, if I was told to. Prosecution, when you were shooting the movie in South Africa and you blocked him, how did he contact you? Cassie, through Mia. Prosecution, he said he didn't remember hurting you. Do you believe him? Did you believe him? Cassie, not always, because I knew him. There were times he was pretty aware of what he was doing. It's just who he is. I'd seen him be violent with other people. Prosecution, on the way back from Cannes, what did Sean do? Cassie, he played a video of me having intercourse with a worker. Prosecution, what'd he say he'd do? Cassie, he'd release it. Prosecution, when you got to New York, what did Sean ask for? Cassie, a freak off or he'd release it. Mm. Um, Prosecution, when Sean wrote, you ready for tonight? What did he mean? Cassie, freak off. Prosecution, what were you afraid he would do if you did not do that freak off? Defense, objection, judge overruled. Cassie, I don't know. I don't know that week. Next question. Prosecution, did you have any doubt that Sean raped you? Um, Defense, objection, judge overruled. Cassie, I have no doubt. What kind of question is that? But nonetheless, prosecution. After Sean raped you on August 18th, did you later have consensual X with Sean during which your now husband FaceTimed you? Cassie, yes. Prosecution. Why did you cancel the tour? Cassie, after I filed my lawsuit, I was overwhelmed. Addressing the past the way that I chose to was overwhelming. I didn't want to go. Prosecution, did you plan to file more lawsuits? Cassie, no. Prosecution, would you give the $20 million back if you didn't have to have a single freak off, or if you didn't have to do any freak offs? Um, Defense, objection, judge overruled. Cassie, I would give it back to get my agency back. Prosecution, did he beat you during freak offs? Cassie, yes. And she starts crying. Prosecution, were you open to freak offs at the beginning? Cassie, at the beginning. Prosecution, did you tell him when you no longer wanted to do them? Cassie, yes, more than once. Prosecution, what concerns did you have about saying no to freak offs? Cassie, safety, career, love. Prosecution, no further questions. Estavo, so this is defense. Okay, so now the defense is asking her again. You knew Mr. Combs's sexual preferences was these freak offs, right? Cassie, I learned. Defense, it was part of being his girlfriend. Cassie, yeah. Estavo, you kept your old device? Cassie, yes. Estavo, the defense. And freak off videos in this case, they were all on those devices you kept from 2012 and 2014? Cassie, I don't know what year. Defense, you were able to stand at his side at the Met Gala, being his girlfriend, gave you access to producers. Cassie, yes. Defense, beyond Kid Cudi, what other musicians were you put in the studio with? Were you put in the studio with Nicki Minaj? Cassie, yes. Okay. Okay, so let me get back on. Okay. Defense. You were put in the studio with Lil Wayne, Cassie. Yes. Defense. And with Rick Ross and Pusher T. Am I forgetting any names? Cassie. You've got a lot of names. Defense. You are self-conscious about your musical talent. Cassie. I wouldn't say that. Defense. Estavo. You had a bad performance on 106 in Park. Cassie. Early in my career. Estavo, defense. You did music videos. Were they successful? Judge. May we have a brief sidebar? Okay, again, the defense. D Rock was like a member of your family. Cassie. Yes, like a brother. Estavo, defense. The assistant Mia. You also had a friendship with her, right? Cassie. Yes. Estavo. Okay, here you begin with an explicit message, and he responds with one. You are actively sexting. Estavo, you stated that you were feeling overwhelmed after filing your civil lawsuit, right? Cassie, yes. Defense, you recently received a settlement from Intercontinental. Cassie, no. Estavo, you made a demand? Cassie, yes. 10 million, maybe. Judge, anything further? Prosecution just said, I have one more question. Okay, I was asking, can you wrap this up for a minute, Combs? Okay, this blah, 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 blah. We need closure for, okay. And so here comes the prosecution. Why do you keep your devices? Cassie. So again, prosecution is asking Cassie, why did you keep your devices? Cassie said, I was afraid of what was on them. I wouldn't take them to the Apple store. So then the defense comes in. I have one question. You just reached a $10 million settlement with Intercontinental last week before the trial. Objection overruled. And Cassie answers yes. Woo! Okay. So it appears that Cassie did reach a settlement with Intercontinental and got paid that $10 million. So it looks like she had a settlement of $20 million from Diddy, and then a $10 million settlement from Intercontinental. And so they have now taken a break, and Cassie is done at this moment in time. I'm assuming they're not going to bring her back anymore, and we are going into the special agent. So now we've got a new We've got a new testimony. Okay. During the break, we object to the testimony, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it sounds like here it is where the defense is saying they object to the testimony of the witness that's coming after the special agent, Don Richards. And so the judge seems annoyed and they continue. Okay, so now the jury is entering and now prosecution is beginning. Okay, so here's the prosecution. Good afternoon. Where do you work? Special Agent Binda. HS Homeland Security in the Human Trafficking Group. I'm in the Crisis Negotiation Group too. Prosecution. Did you serve subpoenas in this case? Binda. Yes. Prosecution. When Sean Combs was arrested, where did you go? Binda. The Park Hyatt room 2115, where he was staying. And then they show photo evidence. Prosecution. What did you do? Binda. We assigned a letter to each room and began to search. Prosecution. What was your role? Binda. I took photographs of items, then signed them on the 6051 form. Prosecution. Was this found in the closet? Showed a photograph, and in the photograph is plastic bags full of J&J body oil and Astroglide. This man is obsessed with baby oil. It is insane. Okay, and so prosecution. What was found in the bathroom? Binda. Several bottles of baby oil. Prosecution. Now the bedroom. What was found in the LV bag? Binda. Medication in the name of Frank Black. Prosecution. And that is this, Binda, bags of pink powder found in the medicine bottle. Stipulation shown agreeing it was found and tested by Customs and Border Patrol lab. Okay. So then prosecution says this, the pink powder was found to be ketamine and MDMA in the bottle. Physical evidence is passed around to the jury, then photos shown. Prosecution. What was found in the black mini pack bag? Binda, $9,000. Prosecution. Please take the cash out of the bag. Binda does, and fanning out the bills. Okay. Prosecution. No further questions. Judge, any cross? And so now Garagos, the defense, comes up. In the hotel room, did you see any bags and clothing indicating that women were staying with him there? Binda, yes. Ooh, the judge. The U.S. may call its next witness. So that was it. Okay, so they met with a special agent from Homeland Security. He said as soon as they arrested Diddy, they went ahead and put notifications on the doors and began the search, started taking pictures. What they found was a whole lot of bottles of baby oil, a whole lot of bottles of Astroglide, prescription bottles under the alias Jack Black, which Cassie already told you in the past, previously, that is an alias that he will get prescription drugs in and sometimes book the room with. And inside those medication bottles was drugs, ketamine and MDMA. I don't even know what the heck that is, but nonetheless, let's move forward. And so, and then they also said that there were clothes in the room that indicated there was a woman there with him. Now, I personally think that is important because that's going to show a pattern of behavior for the prosecution. Because ultimately, we already know these kits, a freak off starter kit entails drugs, baby oil, and a whole lot of SDX. So, pretty much the starter kit is going to have baby oil and drugs, if nothing else. And so he's got that with him. And then there looks like there was a woman there. So to me, that shows prosecution that there's a pattern of this type of conduct. So even now that Cassie is gone, it's showing that he continues these behaviors with other women. And I'm assuming later on in the case, when the other two witnesses testify, the other two women that they have that say they indulged in these freak-offs with him are going to testify. And even to the day that he was arrested, he had drugs on him, he had cash on him, and he had baby oil. Okay, and so now the Homeland Security dude is off the stand, and now they're bringing in Don Richard. Okay, so now they've called the next witness, and the prosecution is starting with her. So prosecution. Okay, so Where are you from? So here's Don, New Orleans, Louisiana. Prosecution. From 2004 and 2011, who did you work for? Don. Puffy, Sean Combs. Prosecution. Do you see him here today? Don. Yes. Prosecution. Who is depicted in this photo? Don Richards. Cassie. Prosecution. In 2009, did you observe an incident between Puff and Cassie? Don. She was attacked by Sean Combs, kicked. Prosecution. Did you see more violence by him against Cassie? Don. Often. And so they show a photo of Diddy and Dirty Money. Okay. So prosecution. When were you a member of this group? Don. 2009 to 2011. Prosecution. The incident in 2009 when Sean Combs beat Cassie. Where was it? Don. In Sean Combs' LA home. We were recording. Prosecution. What did he do? Don. He was saying, where the F is my food? He grabbed a black skillet with eggs and tried to hit her over the head. Cassie dropped to the ground. Prosecution. What did she do? Don. She went into fetal position. Prosecution. Then what? Don. Sean Combs kicked her in the head and body, then dragged her up to the first floor, glass breaking and yelling. I was scared for her and for me too. Prosecution. Did you intervene? Don. No. Prosecution. Did you call police? Don. No. Prosecution. The next day, what happened? Don. That is, I'm assuming the way they're positioning the answer is that Don stated, we assumed that it just had been passionate and that she was okay, that it would be better if we just didn't talk about it and that people could end up missing. Prosecution. How did you understand that? Don Richards, death. Defense. Objection. Sidebar. Judge, jurors, you can leave for the weekend. Watch the Yankees play the Mets or the Knicks. Watch the Yankees play the Mets or the Knicks. And if you're not into sports, there's a lot of other stuff you can get into. Woo! Okay, judge, about this line of testimony. So he's talking to the prosecution. This shows consciousness of guilt for count one and relevant to count one. And then Agrafalo, which is the defense, it's not ex trafficking, it's domestic violence. And the judge, why didn't you bring a motion in line on this, in timeline of this? I don't know. So Combs, okay, we cannot sit here and say Miss Ventura did anything because of this event because she didn't talk about this. So this is rank speculation, judge, but she was there. Uh, Agnaflo, but I can't even pronounce these people's names. She doesn't know the effect on Cassie Ventura. Okay, and so the judge says, who are the next witnesses? And then prosecution says Carrie Morgan and David James. And then okay, so the judge says, so that's it. I'll have a word in the robing room with Miss Comey and Mr. Agnaflo. I don't need court reporter. Yikes. Okay. What happens after that? Let's see. And that was it. Oh, is that it? Oh, come on, come on. What happens after that? I don't need court reporter, he said, and that might be a problem because they're not going to be able to see what's going on. So it sounds like that's it. Okay. So it sounds like that is it. It sound and he, I mean, he told the jurors to go home and watch the game. So that means that's pretty much it. So what did we learn today? We learned that there was still a lot of back and forth between Cassie and Diddy in those later years. She stated that he raped her. However, she did have go back and have an intimate relationship, or I would say an intimate encounter with him one more time after that incident. And she was dating her now husband at the time. And earlier in the testimony, it said that he punched a hole in the wall once he found out she had slept with Diddy one last time. And it seems like she was completely finished with Diddy once she went to Kim Porter's memorial and Diddy specified that Kim was his soulmate. So, I can only imagine her sitting, listening to the fact that this man says Kim Porter was his soulmate and you've been in this relationship with him for 11 years, endured all this physical abuse, endured all of this, I would say sexual exploitation and things of that nature. And he's like some other woman is his soulmate. Like, it's insane. But nonetheless, that was the last time she saw Diddy. And then, she ends up going to rehab, writing a book, the lawsuit, yada, yada, yada. So whirlwind after that. What we also learned is that Homeland Security found substances in Diddy's hotel, even the day that he was arrested in New York. And so what I will say is, I have been seeing a whole lot of information on social media with people saying they don't get it, they don't understand it. Where's the trafficking coming from? Where's the RICO coming from? There's no way he's going to get off. And my impression and my interpretation of that is that is madness. And I'm going to tell you why. I think that is absolute madness, simply because one, they found substances on him. Like, I don't know nobody who can run around with ketamine and all kind of craziness on their person. Homeland Security arrests you and you don't do no time behind it. Okay. So even if they do not get him on trafficking and RICO, the man is still going to he's going to be found guilty of something. He's going to be found guilty of having them drugs on him, and he was still purchasing workers. You cannot indulge in purchasing workers in any way. That is an illegal crime. So even if, like I said, even if the trafficking didn't stand and people can't understand how that's viable, or even the RICO situation, he still committed crimes, period. So I just don't see him just being able to walk away. It just doesn't seem realistic to me, especially not when the day that we arrested you, we found drugs on you. Like, come on now. Now, like I said, that may end up not being federal, and it may go back to the state, and the state will charge him for those drug crimes. But nonetheless, he ain't going to just be skating out the courtroom. I just don't see it. Now, when it comes to the, heavier charges, which is going to be the trafficking and the RICO, to me, it's quite obvious. I don't see what y'all not seeing. I mean, when you think about the R. Kelly situation, R. Kelly got, caught up for RICO because he used all of his people and all of his workers to assist in, taking these girls all over the place. And I'm assuming a lot of these girls said that they were held against their will and things of that nature. And he moved them from state to state and was, having intercourse with them and things of that nature. And so he got caught up in a lot. And it was a RICO case. Now, with Diddy, to me, Diddy's case, to me, is a lot more finite, based on the fact that there's actual proof that he was purchasing workers. That is a crime. He not only was purchasing and exchanging funds in return for actual favors, but he utilized multiple people where he traveled with them. He flew them from LA to Miami to Ibiza to wherever. So he is actively paying people for sexual favors. That is a crime. People, that is a crime in every state of America except Nevada. And even in Nevada, you cannot be in Las Vegas. It has to be outside of Clark County. In Clark County, prostitution is not legal. So if you see any chicks in the hotels, things of that nature, they will be arrested. They will be criminalized. And they have police who are constantly walking the floors in these hotels, arresting these ladies. And I've seen on television many times where the officers will say, listen, just go outside of the state lines where you can go to the brothel and make your money legally. Within the state lines of Las Vegas, Nevada, you cannot solicitate for purposes of, sexual entertainment or adult entertainment, so to speak. And so these are crimes. Okay. So for him to be actively paying people in exchange for that is a crime. On top of that, the man was found with controlled substances on his person and in his hotel room the day that they arrested him in New York. And that don't even have nothing to do with what they found in his home. It is quite possible that Homeland Security found a lot more substances in his home. And when it comes to, illegal substances, they weigh that stuff. Okay. It's not just, okay, you had one little package. No, they're going to weigh it by the gram, and they give you time based on the amount you had. So if he had any real weight at those mansions or any of his homes, that's a problem. that's going to be a problem. Okay. And so, this whole, oh, it was just a domestic violence situation. It was just him and his girlfriend who was just in a very toxic relationship. I don't see how they're going to get him on ex trafficking. I'm like, you're crazy out of your mind. Like you're crazy out of your mind. Like I just don't see it, because like I said, just from based on what I'm researching, the only two things you really need to prove when it comes to ex trafficking is going to be force and coercion. And the force comes via the violence and the coercion comes via the blackmail. So for her to say, I don't want to do this anymore, I don't feel good about this, and he's saying, if you don't do it, I'm going to release it, I'm going to ruin your life, your career, your family, and have everybody see what you be doing with me, that is coercion. Okay. And the force comes when I try to leave, like we all saw on that CNN video, when I try to leave barefoot and you come throw me to the ground, kick me, and literally snatch me up by the back of my shirt and drag me back. That's force. Okay. And a lot of things that I've honestly not seen anybody speak on it, but it's something that I noticed that I feel was very, very important with regards to that video, is not just the violence, but if you remember, he took her bag. Okay. He took her bag and he took it back to the hotel. And if you watch the extended version of that tape, he comes back and he gets her phone. So he takes her phone, he takes her handbag. Okay. And so what does that mean? That means she don't have no means of communication to call anybody. She don't have no ID. She don't have no credit cards. She don't have nothing to be able to escape. That is force. That is force. I'm trying to leave and you take all of my possessions to where I can't call 911. I can't call for help. I don't even have ID to go anywhere. I literally am damn near barefoot trying to escape. That is force. That is force and coercion. Okay. And it was in the middle of a freak off, meaning she was done with, there was still an ex-worker in that room. And the security from the hotel testified that there was a worker. It was Jules. It was the one that they used. Jules is going to be testifying, and he's going to testify that he was in that room, and he's going to testify to what he saw. Jules was sitting in that room. An ex-worker, a paid worker, was in that room on that CNN video. Cassie claims that he was abusive and hit her, and though that's why she was leaving, that's why she was barefoot, et cetera, et cetera. So you see Diddy run down the hall and drag her, which is obviously, again, force. And then he takes all of her things, which again is force and coercion, to force her back into this freak off, right? Back into actual exploitation. That is trafficking. Okay. So anytime, you are, compromising someone's safety and well-being and their possessions in this way, that is 100% a problem. So for all you gentlemen who, are saying, oh, so I can't fly a chick out anymore and that's going to be considered trafficking. No, that is not trafficking. If she is consenting to that, that's not trafficking. But the moment you bop her upside her head and take her belongings, now you got a problem. Okay? Now you got a problem. Okay? And so, like I said on my very first video, this situation with Diddy to me is very similar to, a PIMP, working woman, lady of the night type of situation. It's all manipulative, it's all mind control, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of the ladies that work on, these streets, they are allowed to come and go. They are allowed to pick their Johns. They are allowed to, service whom they want to and make the price, et cetera, et cetera. But the moment they decide they don't want to do it anymore, the moment they decide they don't want to give the money to their PIMP, they are met with violence. Okay. So there is, what is it called? What did I say? Force and coercion. They are met with violence, which is why these PIMPs end up getting, uh, arrested and charged with trafficking. Okay. So, there's still so much more to see. This was only week one of a very, very long trial. There are going to be multiple women who come in and testify that Diddy, was violent toward them and they indulged in freak offs. I think they said, if I read correctly, Carrie Morgan is supposed to is supposed to testify on Monday, which is going to be very interesting because if memory serves me correctly, Carrie Morgan is the friend that Cassie had for multiple years. Now, like I said, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know if I have this, because there's a lot of names, there's a lot of moving parts. But like I said, I think Carrie Morgan is the friend that Cassie had for like 17 years. And Diddy came enraged to Cassie's house one night or one day and started beating up on Cassie. And the friend, Carrie Morgan, tried to intercept to protect Cassie, and Diddy ended up hitting her in the face with a wooden hanger. And she ended up suing both Diddy and Cassie. And Cassie paid out. I don't know if that Diddy paid out, but nonetheless, they are not friends anymore due to that incident. So I'm assuming this girl was like, listen, if you want to stay, just like in that Tina Turner movie, where she was like, if you want to stay around and let Ike beat your ass, you crazy. Same type of situation. Same type of situation. So apparently Carrie Morgan was like, listen, if you want to stay around and let this nigga beat your ass, you crazy. But I'm not gonna let him put hands on me. And so to me, just very stereotypical domestic violence, very toxic, very pimp whole relationship. It's so crazy unfortunate. And the crazy thing is, I wanted to share this also, is that for the very it wasn't until yesterday that it really dawned on me that he didn't care about her. I guess because I just believe that it was a very toxic relationship, but there was still kind of love on both sides, because just like everyone else, I'm used to seeing her, in the Ciroc videos dancing, her in the Sean John ads with Lauren London posed up. So you see that, and you believe there's a certain level of happiness there, that they're on both sides. He's giving her all of these things, he's putting her in these ads and things of that nature, so there's love there on both sides. And I remember the first day my husband was like, he does not care about her, he never loved her. And I was like, I don't really know about that. But it wasn't until yesterday when let me see, what was the moment. Yes. So it wasn't until yesterday when they were asking her about jealousy that she had of Kim. And when she stated that she was jealous of Kim because he would spend holidays with Kim and the kids and not her, is when I was like, he didn't give no damn about her. Because ultimately, just a regular person, men make time for the things they want to make time for, period. So if this dude views you as his woman, he views you as his girl, he views you as somebody he loves and may marry, he's going to have you around his family, he's going to have you around his kids, you're going to be there for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, etc., because you his boo. So even though he had kids with Kim and Misa, I just assumed Cassie was a part of his life in that way. I assumed she had relationships with the kids and was an integral part of his life. So when she stated that she was jealous of the fact that he would spend the holidays with Kim and not her, that's when I really realized, okay, he didn't really care about her. He really didn't love her. He was using her. She was just a tool. She was just a tool. She was his entertainment. She was just a young girl that he could manipulate and mold and, coerce and brainwash into doing a whole lot of crazy intimate things for him and fulfilling his deviant fantasies. And he knew that he could dangle, his love, her career, his influence over her, and that she would just agree to it because she was very malleable. She was very naive, very manipulated. And that's when it really dawned on me, like, damn, he really dogged her out. Like, he really didn't care about her. Like, she wasn't there for the holidays, she wasn't there for Christmas and all that. Okay, so he was definitely playing her ass. And it's so unfortunate because we have all seen it so many times. It's just on a bigger scale with Diddy. We have all seen dudes who would just dog a chick out and you'd be like, come on, like, damn. And unfortunately, this is what it appears to have been with regards to Cassie. And the unfortunate thing is that I do believe that she really loved him. She really cared for him. And unfortunately, she did these really, really horrible things trying to please someone who never cared for her, never, ever, ever cared for her. And at the end of the day, like I said, my husband is right. You don't treat someone you love that way. period. You cannot be a man and want the woman you love to be urinated on by a stranger, and to force somebody who's got sores in their mouth and UTIs to still perform and not be able to stop. And if they do, punching them in the face and carrying on. That is not love. That is so not love. And I thought maybe, okay, well, the drug addiction and everything else. I thought maybe in the beginning there was some care for her, but I think it was just a setup. It was, he saw a mark and he went for it and was like, I'm going to turn this girl out. And like I said, I've read books about pimps and how they will, hone in on a young girl and, play like he loved her and woo her and all this other carrying on, and it goes south real quick. And to me, you know what I'm saying, this story is very similar. The only difference is that it's Diddy and it's Hollywood, and we're used to seeing these people on the red carpet, so we would never believe that it was that diabolical and dark. But what do they always say? Only believe half of what you hear. Or what did they say? Only believe, oh no, what is it? Don't believe none of what you hear and only half of what you see. And that is so telling. Don't believe anything you hear and only half of what you see, because I would have never in my wildest dreams imagined that this girl was subjected to this kind of depravity weekly for 10 plus years. It's mind blowing. But nonetheless, I thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for continuing to support me and watch these videos and go over this case. It is so intriguing. It is so interesting, and it is definitely a life lesson. It is definitely a life lesson for young girls or anybody who is chasing the dollar, chasing success, chasing a dream, to make sure you keep your head on right, because these people out here are crazy. And I do believe, it's a lot of dark craziness going on, and you really got to be on it and be aware of what's happening and what kind of relationships you indulge in and what kind of people you allow in your circle and in your cipher. Real talk. And so, if you have not already, please do subscribe. Those who have already subscribed, thank you so much. I love sharing all of this information with you and getting on here and having these great conversations. I love the comments when you leave them. So please, let's continue this conversation so that we can continue to talk about, life lessons and all of these little interesting tidbits with regards to this Diddy case. And so again, my name is Andrea Badu, and until next time, this is the Community Ledger. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and watch the next video by clicking right here.